Okay, so we actually got a delivery in the mail. I love deliveries, as you know. So let's open it up and see what we got inside. All right, so inside, looks like we have our Wickerbill, and this is from ZL1addons. As you know, I'm a big fan of ZL1addons, and they have a lot of great stuff. And this is actually a really cool Wickerbill. For those who don't know what Wickerbills are, there's just like this nice cool piece of plastic that runs along the backside of your spoiler to kind of help create downforce on the back end. Plus that looks really, really cool too. So I know we have the Wickerbill there. Now we should have some riv nuts, and these riv nuts, as you can kind of see, you have to have a special kind of tool in order to get these inside. And if you remember back from one of our very first videos, that we purchased a riv nut gun. So this is the riv nut gun. This is a shear bonder. I got this from Amazon. It does come with multiple units. We'll get the right size nut attachment piece that attaches inside there, and I will kind of show you how this all works together. So a little hidden note here with ZL1addons. When you're in the checkout section of it and you're about to check out, they have code. There's a place for you to enter in a special code for discounts. If you put in there lethal5 in the discount code, you'll get 5% off all your orders. We got that nice little chip from Lethal Camaro out in Temecula, California. The guy's awesome. So follow him if you're not already. But Lethal5 in the little discount code, and you'll get a little discount. So there you go. There's my trip for the day. Okay, so we're about to do the install, but I want to kind of show you first, before we get into the car, actually what tools you need, what all comes with the kit, so that way you exactly know where to start and where to kind of get going before you actually even touch the car. So let's take a look at what all we got. Okay, so as you see, you have the Wickerbill. This side actually has a plastic protection on it. That's the gloss side. That's actually what we're going to put on the outside. You do have the choice on the other side. We'll show you here in a second. Actually, it's kind of a pebbled finish, so you can go either way. You are going to need a drill with 2 different size bits. One for cutting a pilot hole into the spoiler, and then you're going to need another size. I always err on the side of caution. Go smaller and work your way up versus going big, so that way you don't get too big of a hole. You are going to need the riv nut gun. It does come with all the hardware that you need. It comes with the riv nut sheath. It comes with a bolt. It does come with a washer and a little plastic bushing on there, so that way it kind of protects against the hole as you get in there. You're going to need some masking tape of some kind. You're also going to need a marker. I actually have some black touch-up paint because we're going to actually touch up the edges of the bushing, so that way it makes sure it doesn't show, because I want it to be completely black. You can go chrome if you want, but I'm going to go black. You're going to need to measure a measuring tape, and obviously something to screw in the screws. So let's go take a look at the car. All right, so I went ahead and took the liberty to kind of save us a little bit of time and kind of marked it off. First thing you want to do is you want to find your center line. The Wickerbill comes with 7 holes. So obviously the center hole is going to be your 7th. So you find that the center mass. I based it off of the emblem here and ran up to the center, measured from left to right on that 3rd brake light, found my center mark there, and basically just connected the dots up until I found my center mass here, which is kind of where the hole is there. There we go, a little bit better view there. From there, I marked off 12 inches on each side. One there, and then one there. There. And the reason why I did that is so that way I knew exactly, and then I measured up, measured down 3 inches from there Again, your Wickerbill might be a little different, but I measured down so that way I know exactly that it was going to be completely level from there to there all the way across as I mark my holes. Then I just kind of laid my Wickerbill on, the template on, and just mark the holes, making sure that the bottom of the Wickerbill stayed level with here. Make sure they stay level, and then just kind of put a piece of tape over underneath because I don't want it to splinter at all. So word of advice, make sure that you measure before you drill into your spoiler. Obviously, I actually had a second set of hands to kind of hold the Wickerbill on one side down while I measured the other side and flipped them to ensure that the holes were lined up exactly right, that the bottom of the Wickerbill was lined up all the way across the bottom level, so that way, because once you drill into it, the holes are there, and you don't want to ruin your spoiler. So you know that whole adage, measure twice, cut once, that kind of thing, it definitely plays into here. So we're going to get the drill, and we're going to start drilling our pilot holes, and we'll obviously double check as we go along the line to make sure that our holes did not shift and we don't need to adjust. So you can see here we drilled the pilot hole. It goes in relatively easy. This is fiberglass, so it's really easy for it to go in. So just go slow and take your time. You don't want to split it. All right, so now that you've got the hole in, you do kind of a little test run to make sure that your rib nut kind of fits in there. It doesn't move around too much, so your bits might be a little snug. Just kind of work your bit around in a circle a little bit, just to kind of wind up just where it's big enough to kind of get in there where it's nice and snug. And then we're gonna do our riv nut gun, and we'll clamp it closed, but we're going to get the rest of these holes done first. So remember when I told you to make sure that you measure before you go. Measure, recheck, measure again. So what I did was we went ahead and drilled all the first 3 holes in the center, and then we put in the riv nuts, and then kind of dry fit the Wickerbill on just like this. It's not really on there completely yet. It's not tightened down, but the reason why we did this is to ensure that the other holes on the ends that wrap around the end are going to fit. So when we put these on to do a dry run, if you look, my marks are not correct. This is what really happens. So now we're going to have to readjust, and this is why you do this. You do the center first, make sure that the center is nice and flush and ready to go. Then you move out to the outside and double check before you drill. So you can kind of see how far we were off there. It wasn't too bad, but as you work around here towards the end, it wasn't that far off. If you get around this side, you really kind of see how far off, and that would have been really, really bad to have an extra hole in the backside. Yeah, so that's why you measure twice. All right, so this is the rib nut gun, and this is the rib nut. And how this works is you just basically take the open end that's got the threads that's inside there, and you just kind of screw this on here just like so until it seats almost all the way against the housing here, right here. Right, and then you basically just sit this into your hole, and you squeeze, and as it squeezes, it's going to compress, and it's going to create kind of a double seal on both sides of the hole, inside and out, to kind of hold this in. So this is how we're going to go. And then right here, you just got to give it a squeeze until you feel it kind of compress in there, and then now now you just back this all the way out until your nut thing comes off, and that's it. It's really that easy. So you see it's all kind of nice seated in there, nice and snug, and then it really squeezes in there, so you kind of see how this, then you screw in there. So we have all the rib nuts installed. We got the back end all cleaned up, all the residual fiberglass that comes out of the holes. You want to make sure you get that all cleaned up, so that way it doesn't scratch your paint in your clear coat. So, all right, so let's get the Wickerbill all prepped up and ready to install. We're about done. Okay, so if you remember from what I said before, there's actually two sides to this thing. I'm hoping the camera can pick this up, but you kind of see how it's a pebbled finish on this side. So if you want that kind of that matte looking finish, if you've got a matte finish on your car, this might be an option for you. But for me, we're gonna go with the other side, and it's got this plastic clear protector on there. So let's go ahead and take this off. And what you see is you have this really nice shiny black gloss, which is kind of what we're going to put on the back end. So you see how glossy it is. So, all right, let's get this thing installed. All right, so we basically just screwed the screws in. Remember, it has a washer, or that little rubber bushing that goes in between the washer and the Wickerbill. To protect it, kind of helps when you clamp that down, that it doesn't crack and mess up your Wickerbill as you crack that down. And now you kind of see it's all on the back side. How it kind of sits up there, nice and level and even. All right. The install of this Wickerbill was relatively easy. If I had to grade it from a 1 to 10, I'd probably say it's about a 6.5, 7 on high side. And the only reason I rate it that high is you have to make sure that the holes are lined up and you mark the holes right. But as far as actually doing the process, screwing in the, making the holes in the spoiler, it goes in easy. You put the rib nuts in, that's really easy, and then you're just screwing everything on. So you can do it by yourself. I had an extra set of hands at one point just to kind of help hold down the Wickerbill as we're kind of making the marks. So with that, stay tuned for more stuff coming on Red Camaro. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure that if you like the material that you are subscribing below. I'll make sure that I put all the links of all the information from ZL1addons with the model number if you like this particular Wickerbill, so that way you can go right to their website and order it. I know they'll love it. Make sure that you use that Lethal 5 code in there from, thanks again, Lethal Camaro, for hooking that up for all of us out here. And they'll give you a little 5% discount there. Every little bit helps, right? So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next installment of Red Camaro.